Good afternoon, this is Trader72. Welcome to my YouTube channel. And it's the first one, hopefully, of many on my journey as a YouTuber. It's been a long coming. I have did an intro, I think, which just dropped about 25 minutes ago. So hopefully you've enjoyed that first intro, whoever's listening. This is basically the first of two diaries a day. One for pre-market, which obviously the US market I'm talking about, because that's what I tend to trade with most, as there's much liquidity, as I said in my last, my intro video. And we are basically looking at the US market opening at 2:30 local time here, GMT, in London. Obviously, it's 9 o'clock in the morning in the US. So really what we're looking for really is just to give you a quick idea of, especially for this specific video, the pre-market news, what's going on, where I'm at in terms of trading. Obviously, there'll be an evening one at 5:30, 6 o'clock, again, GMT time London, where I will just recap on my day's trading pretty much. I kind of finish around 7 o'clock, unless something specific happens in the US beyond that, or obviously any company news or trading update news, which obviously we've just gone past now. The season of trading updates is pretty much done. So this is where we will be. There'll be a second video that will come out and will give you an idea again of the results of the day, what I've been up to, what trades I've done or not, etc, etc. So that's the kind of basic idea. As I said before, this is quite cathartic for me to do as I'm trading on my own. This is obviously a hobby. I do have another job, but I do dedicate a lot of my time of my week to do this in terms of research, news, which I'd like to share. So if some of you would like to share in terms of, and are happy to share with me, then that would be great. Be great to hear from you guys as well on the comments below. Any comments, of course, positive or negative. I'm fairly thick-skinned, so hopefully a positive will be great. But if it is the world we live in at the moment. So in terms of actual knowledge, I've gone through this already with my intro. I'm a value investor, recently gotten more into that side of it than actually just swing trading or up, or dip trading. There is chance for me to do that when something comes up that I feel might be a bargain and I can make a quick buck out of it. But mostly really now at the moment I'm looking at value investing, which could be from a month to 6 months to a year to 2 years. I mean, Adobe I've held in my portfolio for nearly a year, probably not through massive choice because obviously it's been in the red since I bought it due to different circumstances, but also, in terms of S&P Global, that which I've just bought in, is pretty much at the moment, just bought about a week ago, and I've, looking at, depending on each strategy and stock, obviously I will look to, excuse me, to keep it or sell it, depending on the value of the stock and if it goes up towards more its intrinsic price. I can go through all this in terms of my trading style, what I'm looking at, and every time I buy into a stock, there will be an analysis of why I've gone into that stock specifically. If there's any major news, you'll also hear from me in between those videos as well, depending if there's something really big. I don't want to bombard you with all my videos constantly, but obviously if something happens that is worthy of a talk or that will affect stocks and shares, that will be obviously dropped in. I aim at really all sorts, really, from people that have just entered the market in terms of retail investors that have just started with a small amount of money, medium size of money. Really, it depends in terms of experience, whoever's interested in my opinion and what I do and how I analyze things. Now, please don't just copy me. That's obviously something that is obviously been said by many other YouTubers before, but obviously you please do your own due diligence. I am not a financial person in terms of background. I've learned and picked up experience over the last 11 years, as I mentioned again in my intro video. So it's really about, my own system and sharing it with you guys, and obviously, taking it from there in terms of please do more info for yourself, not just copy or trade what I do blindly, which I'm sure most of you won't, but it's worth mentioning as a small little print there at the moment. So without further ado, let's just kind of go through the news very quickly. Asian global sell-off last night, obviously on the follow-up of yesterday's big red day. It was a pretty bloody day yesterday. Again, through the fear of energy prices going up through crude oil. We all know that obviously that will be passed on to the consumer and effectively could start an inflationary period which could cause, obviously inflation is always a bad thing, sometimes a good thing, depending on who you are. But obviously at this moment, it's more about, try to not go through that system. So in terms of the actual war itself, whether that will go on forever, I don't think it will be that long. I think markets, as you will see from this morning, are already pricing in that it possibly may not be, or pricing it in altogether anyway. Obviously, if it does linger in terms of the actual bombing between obviously US, Israel and Iran, it could obviously go up and up. And the crude oil specifically, we know that oil is used for everything. So the moment oil goes up, everything does go up with it. I think most of you will be aware of that. And if crude oil does go above $100 a barrel and it stays there, then that could be obviously an issue. So that is when it could be serious. But at this moment, $81 a barrel, it's up nearly $10 on the actual pricing from pre-conflict. But we shall see if that lasts. But for now, there certainly is a bit of a wobble, and it seems to have a bit of a rebound. Let's have a quick look at the US markets for now. And as you will see, the US 30 on platform, which is the S&P 500, is 190 points up, and the Nasdaq is 172 points up at the moment. Amazon just hit 210, as you will see live on the show. There you go. So definitely an uptick on the day. I think, we have to obviously keep a very close eye on the situation in the Middle East, and obviously that geopolitical situation there is always tense. So, whether or not, we'll see. But Iranians are already talking through back channels about potentially talking with the US. Whether or not the US will comply, will go with that, I'm not sure. But already, I think the pressure is hugely on Iran at the moment. But we shall see on that. Now, any other news at the moment? Obviously, oil is impacting Europe. We know that already. There's, as I said, an uptick. Fed official talking about inflation. No urgency to obviously make any cut of interest, which obviously the market does like to hear. At this moment, I can't see any interest cuts. Cut in interest rate even for at least the next few months. So I think the markets have kind of marked that in or ignored that one in, really. I mean, we shall see again. Crypto going up, obviously, this morning. I'm not a big crypto fan. I tend to trade, obviously, in stocks only. Yes, I have traded in commodities in the past, been burnt a few times. I tend to really look at sometimes, maybe the pound versus dollar or the crude oil or gold is possibly something that I would dwell in, basically on certain situations where gold or the pound becomes so cheap that, as it was a few years ago against the dollar, that it's worth moving into it. But very rarely I would do that unless really there's a good reason for it. So the big stories of the day is obviously market unstable, big global sell-off in Asia, in Europe, inflation expectations being to stay sticky, obviously, at this moment. And it's pretty much it in terms of any headlines or pre-market headlines at the moment. Let's go quickly to my charts at the moment. As you're well aware, just to kind of recap on things, I currently own Adobe and S&P Global. One in the green at the moment, nearly £90 in the green at the moment. As I said, it's small amounts to start off with. I tend to buy in tranches as it goes down or up. If it does go up, it makes me money, I'll stick with it. Obviously, if it goes up above the 200-day moving average, that is again possibly a buying signal. If not, buy on the dip. So I only bought a small amount at the moment, only about £89, £889 margin for a deposit of about £4,000 worth of shares. Bought quite big into Adobe, as you can see, in two tranches, but in all, as a general price of thumb here, we're looking at, if I can look at there, 383 is the general price. So as you could probably see, quite way off. There we go, 4,352 shares in S&P Global. As you know, I am using spread betting platform. I won't obviously name the name, but at this stage, this is what I tend to use. That's my preferred way of trading. Some people say that you don't actually own a share when you do this and you hedge your bets, but for me, it's still nevertheless buying into a stock and owning that stock for a period of time. It does charge per night, but obviously, there are different reasons why I'm doing it, which I won't go too much into at this moment, but it is a good system for me in terms of not putting all my money into one stock, and also being able to be a bit more nimble in the market and buying more than one stock on just a £5,000-10,000 account, which is what it is at the moment. Obviously, if needs be, I will add to that account a couple of grand here and there if I need to. But for now, I'm pretty happy with what I've got. The market's up and down, so you got to be careful. So I can go back why I bought into S&P Global at some stage. I can do a video for that in terms of why I tend to buy on intrinsic price versus obviously margin of safety, which is the main takeaway from my trading value here. The margin of safety just gives you a real, as it says on the tin, a safety of when you buy that stock. If it goes down further, at least you know that you've bought it at a discount, not at the market price, which I think is very important. So again, I can go through all that in terms of analysis, in terms of my criteria. There's a mixture there of different type of big value traders, from Warren Buffett to to various different other traders that I like to use. I use a system called the 4Ms as well, which gives you a criteria of, what the company's about, the management, the moat, and also kind of key financial points that I need to use to make sure that it qualifies for that. And if it doesn't, I'm quite stringent in that I don't buy in. I didn't initially do this for Adobe for, clarity here. Adobe was bought, I thought, at a good price, and it obviously was a falling knife. So that is, for me, black and white there, an example of why I've went through into value investing and into this 4M system. Because I think it's a kind of a safety zone, and this is what I've applied to S&P Global. So I think Adobe is a reminder of my mistakes, which is always good. And as I said, I will be absolutely honest in terms of black and white of my wins and losses. And you see, I am not playing with millions of pounds. It's certainly small, and that's why I call myself a small retail investor. But you can make profit. At the moment, if S&P Global were to hit 500, that would be £600 profit. And Adobe would to be turned around, could be making up to £3,000. The other day, I made £1,000 on UNH. So, it depends on what. I could have made a lot more. I think the key point to this, from my point of view as well, in terms of learning, is not the buying. The buying is not a problem. The entry point is something that I look at. Obviously, all based on a 1 week chart, as you can see. And I tend to switch between 1 week and daily chart for my entry points. It's the selling point that's the problem. Either undercooking it or overcooking it is a big issue, and that, I think, is the hardest part, when you know to sell a stock when it's the right time to sell it. Not always easy. Again, I could go into more detail into different types of videos at this stage. So very much in terms of the actual screen, just to give you a quick show around, this is the stocks that I would normally look at. I'm tracking at the moment. I tend to replace them if they become overvalued, not in the right ballpark for me. At the moment, these are all those stocks that I'm looking at the moment. Obviously, S&P Global I've got on my chart, on my portfolio. Looking at Microsoft at the moment, undervalued. Visa, MasterCard, undervalued again. But there is a chart that I can show you where I like to have my margin safety. My margin safety tends to start from about 25 to 30%, although S&P Global about 22%. But sometimes, obviously, you can't, you have to give an idea. If there's a great opportunity to buy into a stock and it could go back up, buy it. But I do wait for some kind of signals there in terms of, again, the tools I use, the MACD, obviously, 12.26.9, and the Stoich at 14.3, which is obviously the momentum of the stock. So there we go. So that gives you a brief first video of what I'm doing. I look forward to catch up with you guys this evening once the markets have been up and running. I'm hoping for a green day. It looks like it's going to kick off quite well. But again, political news, as we all know, can change. I'm not going to give you just black and white news. Everybody can do that. What I will do is give you a quick idea of news that maybe you guys haven't had a chance to do. So I dedicate a lot of my time to finding and digging around. So if I can give you extra news, that'd be great. And also, like I said, analysis of stocks, why I've gone into the stocks, and just, my own opinion on certain things. So that's where I'm coming from. Hopefully you guys will join me on a journey. If not, well, it'll just be me. And as I said, quite cathartic for me just to recap on things in my own mind while doing this. If not, then obviously please join me on my journey. Please subscribe and like. This is Trader72 over and out, and see you this evening for the second part.